Ryan wiped the sweat from his forehead as he adjusted the straps of his backpack. The tunnels of Zephyr's mining colony were hot, dry, and full of the faint hum of ancient machinery. The colony itself was small, a cluster of metallic structures clinging to the rocky cliffs of the planet. But it was the ruins beyond the colony that had drawn him here. Legends told of a temple hidden beneath the red sands, a temple older than the first recorded Vernath history, and inside, they said, was a weapon of unimaginable power. Ryan had always been a man of curiosity. While most miners were content to extract ore and move on, he was fascinated by the old stories by the unknown. Today, he had convinced Mira, a young engineer at the colony, to help him. She was skeptical but practical, often reminding him that curiosity could be dangerous. She had a point, but Ryan never listened when adventure called. The entrance to the temple was buried beneath layers of rock and sand. Ryan and Mira had spent hours digging, their tools clinking against stone. Finally, they uncovered a doorway carved with intricate patterns that seemed to glow faintly as the sunlight touched them. The markings were alien, unlike anything Ryan had ever seen. Mira ran her hand over one of the symbols. "It feels alive," she said, shivering slightly. Ryan nodded, his heart racing. "This is it. Whatever is inside it is important. We just need to be careful." They stepped inside. The air grew colder immediately, and the glow from the markings illuminated the walls with soft blue light. The tunnel narrowed, forcing them to move in single file. Strange carvings adorned the walls, depicting creatures with elongated limbs and eyes that seemed to follow them. The further they walked, the more Ryan felt an electric energy humming beneath his feet. At the end of the corridor, they entered a grand chamber. In the center rested a pedestal, and upon it lay a sword. It was unlike any weapon Ryan had seen. The blade shimmered with a light that shifted between blue and silver. Strange runes floated along its surface as if the sword itself were alive. Ryan felt a pull in his chest, a strange warmth that made his fingers itch to touch it. "This is it," Ryan whispered. "This is the weapon of the Vernath legends." Mira frowned. "Are you sure we should touch it? These ruins could be dangerous. There could be traps." Ryan shook his head. "Some things are meant to be found. We need to see what it can do." He reached out slowly, and the moment his hand touched the hilt, a pulse of energy surged through his body. The runes on the blade glowed brighter, and the chamber trembled. Ryan staggered but did not let go. He could feel the power inside the sword, a living presence that seemed to speak directly to him. Suddenly, a deep hum filled the room. The walls vibrated, and a light appeared at the entrance of the chamber. Ryan and Mira froze. Outside, a Vernath scout ship hovered, its sleek body gleaming in the sunlight. Sensors scanned the surface of the planet, and the hum grew louder as if the ship sensed the activation of the sword. "They know we are here," Mira said, her voice tight with fear. "We need to go now," Ryan nodded. He did not fully understand the sword, but he knew he could not leave it behind. Clutching it tightly, he ran toward the back tunnels. The hum of the alien ship grew louder, almost screaming across the desert. Dust and small rocks fell from the ceiling as the ground shook with the ship's energy. Ryan and Mira darted through the narrow corridors, the light from the sword illuminating their path. The air was thick and musty, carrying the scent of ancient stone and metal. Mira tripped once, nearly dropping her pack, but Ryan caught her arm just in time. "Keep moving," he urged. Finally, they emerged from the temple into a canyon filled with jagged rocks. Ryan paused for a moment to catch his breath. The scout ship had landed on a nearby plateau. Vernath warriors, tall and armored with sleek metallic exoskeletons, began to descend. Their eyes glowed with a faint blue light, and they carried weapons that emitted low-humming energy. Ryan's mind raced.
He did not have a ship to escape in, only a small hoverboard he had borrowed from the colony.
He and Mira climbed onto it, and with a push they glided over the rocky terrain, the ship firing energy pulses behind them. The hoverboard shuddered under the strain, but it carried them forward. Ryan held the sword tightly, feeling it vibrate with energy as if it guided their path. They managed to reach a narrow canyon that twisted and turned through the cliffs. The Vernath warriors struggled to follow in their heavy armor, their energy weapons striking the canyon walls with sparks. Ryan felt exhilaration mixed with fear. He had escaped, but he also knew this was only the beginning. Finally, the hoverboard brought them to the edge of the colony. Ryan jumped off, rolling to absorb the impact. Mira followed, and they sprinted toward the safety of the colony's structures. Behind them, the Vernath warriors slowed. their hovercrafts unable to navigate the narrow streets. For now, they were safe. But Rian knew that safety was temporary. The sword's energy pulsed in his hands like a heartbeat, reminding him that someone powerful was searching for it. He looked at Mira, who was breathing heavily, her eyes wide with concern. "What now?" she asked. Rian looked down at the sword. Its glow had calmed, but he could feel its power still flowing through him. "We learn what it is," he said. "We understand it before they find us." Mira nodded, though she looked unsure. "And then what? We keep it?" Rian shook his head. "I do not know. But one thing is certain. Whoever made this sword, whoever it belongs to, will come for it, and we will need every bit of strength and cleverness we have to survive." That night, Rian and Mira hid in a small maintenance shed at the edge of the colony. The sword rested between them, glowing softly in the darkness. Rian could not sleep. He studied the runes, moving his fingers over them. Each touch sent a pulse of energy through him, a mix of warmth and warning. He realized the sword was more than a weapon. It was alive in some way, almost conscious. Suddenly, a loud boom echoed from above. The colony's communication tower flickered, showing a holographic image. The face of an alien woman appeared, tall, regal, with eyes like burning sapphires. Her armor shimmered with the same energy as the sword. "I am Solara," she said, her voice calm but filled with fury. "Return my sword, human. Do not underestimate the consequences of your actions." Rian swallowed. He did not speak. The image vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving the colony in tense silence. Mira grabbed his arm. "You heard her. That was the queen herself," she whispered. Rian looked at the sword. Its glow seemed to respond to his gaze, as if acknowledging the warning. He realized then that this was not just a fight for survival. This was the beginning of something much larger, something that could change the fate of humans and aliens alike. As he held the sword, he felt a strange connection. It was almost as if it trusted him. Rian knew that if he could learn to wield its power, he might be able to protect himself and Mira, but more importantly, he might find a way to meet Solara on his own terms rather than waiting for her wrath to descend upon them. The night was long, and sleep was impossible. Outside, the desert winds howled, carrying the distant hum of the Virnath ship. Inside, Rian and Mira planned. They would need allies, knowledge, and courage. The sword had chosen him for a reason, and he was determined to uncover its secrets. By morning, Rian had made a decision. He would not run forever. He would study the sword, learn its power, and prepare for the inevitable encounter with Queen Solara. The human spirit, he realized, was not just about survival. It was about courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to face impossible odds. As the twin suns of Zephyra rose above the horizon, Rian tightened his grip on the sword. He looked toward the distant cliffs where the Virnath ship had hovered. Somewhere out there, Solara was watching, waiting for him to make a mistake. But Rian was ready, and for the first time he felt the weight of destiny settle on his shoulders. The sun rose slowly over Zephyra, casting long shadows across the jagged cliffs. Rian sat on a metal crate in the colony's maintenance yard, the sword lying across his lap. Its glow was soft now, almost like a heartbeat, and he could feel it pulsing in rhythm with his own pulse. Mira worked beside him, tinkering with a small hovercraft, her hands greasy from tools. Neither of them spoke at first. Words seemed unnecessary when the presence of the sword filled the air with tension and possibility. Rian finally broke the silence. "I need to understand it," he said, tracing the strange runes along the blade. "This sword is not ordinary. It reacts to me. I can feel energy moving through it. I need to learn how to control it before Solara finds me." Mira looked up, her brow furrowed. "Control it? Rian, you do not even know what it can do. It is alive, yes, but it could be dangerous. It could kill you without meaning to." Rian smiled faintly. "Then I will learn fast." He closed his eyes and focused on the sword, feeling the energy flowing through the hilt and into his hands. Slowly, images began to form in his mind, flashes of light, alien landscapes, and a sense of motion. He could feel the power of the sword extending beyond his body, sensing the environment around him. A rock in the distance trembled slightly, and a small spark of light shot out from the blade, harmless but unmistakable. Mira gasped. "Rian, what did you do?" "I think it can interact with energy," Rian said. "I did not mean to, but it responded." They spent the morning testing the sword's abilities. Rian discovered that it could generate a shield of light, strong enough to stop small debris or tools. He practiced moving the shield in different directions, realizing that the sword responded to his thoughts and intentions. It was almost as if it were alive, choosing to cooperate or resist depending on his focus and willpower. By mid-afternoon, they had moved to a remote section of the colony, away from prying eyes. Ryan wanted to test something bolder. He extended the sword forward and felt energy expand outward in a wave. Rocks a few meters away lifted from the ground, hovering briefly before settling back down. Mira stepped back, eyes wide with awe and fear. "You are playing with forces you do not understand," she said, though her voice carried wonder. "If Solara finds you like this, there will be no warning." Ryan nodded. "I know, but I cannot hide forever. I have to learn what I can do." As they practiced, the sky above Zephyra darkened. The wind picked up, carrying a strange vibration that made the metal buildings hum. Ryan looked up and saw a ship descending slowly, its sleek form cutting through the sky. It was Solara's scout craft, unmistakable with its glowing blue lights and polished hull. "They are back," Mira whispered. Ryan gripped the sword. "We need to move now." They ran toward the edge of the cliffs, carrying the sword carefully. The scout ship fired a pulse of energy toward the colony, making the ground shake beneath their feet. Ryan raised the sword instinctively. A bright shield formed, absorbing the energy without harming them. The light was blinding, and for a moment, Ryan felt an overwhelming connection to the blade, as if it were speaking directly to him. "Follow me," he said to Mira, pointing toward the canyon that led away from the colony. The two of them ran, the sword lighting their path. The scout ship struggled to navigate the narrow canyon, its weapons firing erratically. Ryan realized that the sword not only protected him but also guided him, sensing threats before they appeared. He felt a surge of confidence. For the first time, he believed he might survive the encounter with the Virnath. They reached a small plateau overlooking the desert. Ryan paused, catching his breath. The sword pulsed, and he felt a new ability forming. He extended his hand, and a wave of energy shot from the blade, striking a distant boulder and breaking it into pieces. Mira stared in disbelief. "You are incredible," she said, though her voice trembled. "But this power could get you killed if you're not careful." Ryan nodded, his mind racing. "I know, but I have to try. If I understand it, I can survive. I can protect us both." As the day passed, they hid in the shadows of the canyon, avoiding patrols and small reconnaissance drones sent by Solara. Ryan continued to test the sword, discovering that it could manipulate energy in small but precise ways. He could lift objects, create barriers, and even sense movement around him. Each discovery filled him with a mix of excitement and responsibility. That night, Ryan and Mira set up a temporary camp. The sword lay between them, glowing softly in the dark. Ryan could feel its pulse matching his own heartbeat, and he realized that it was responding to his emotions as much as his thoughts. When he felt fear, the sword hesitated. When he felt determination, it reacted with speed and strength. "We need to understand it completely," Ryan said quietly. "Before Solara comes herself, we must know what we are dealing with." Mira nodded. "And what if we cannot control it? What if it turns on us?" Ryan shook his head. "Then we fight anyway. Humans have always faced impossible odds. We adapt, we survive. We find a way." They slept lightly, the sword between them. Ryan's dreams were filled with flashes of alien cities, vast skies, and warriors unlike anything he had seen. He woke often to the pulse of the sword, feeling as if it were alive and guiding him. The next morning, they decided to move. Ryan knew the colony could not protect them for long. They would need to find allies, people who understood technology and energy manipulation. Mira suggested the old research station on the edge of the desert, a place abandoned for decades but rumored to contain alien artifacts and data. As they traveled, they encountered small patrols of Virnath scouts. Ryan used the sword with increasing skill, creating shields, lifting rocks to block paths, and sometimes striking with precise bursts of energy. The scouts were formidable, but Ryan's ingenuity and quick thinking kept them one step ahead. He realized that raw power alone was not enough. Survival depended on strategy, creativity, and the human ability to improvise. By midday, they reached the abandoned research station. It was a massive structure half buried in sand and rock, with broken machinery scattered around. Ryan felt a strange connection to it, as if the sword recognized the place. "Maybe the sword was made for this," Ryan said, stepping carefully inside. The interior was dark and filled with strange devices. Holographic panels flickered weakly, and cables hung from the ceiling like vines. Ryan and Mira explored cautiously, the sword's glow lighting their way. They discovered old logs and data files left by scientists who had once studied the Vernath and their artifacts. Ryan's eyes widened as he read the notes. The sword was described as a conduit, a bridge between energy and consciousness. It could respond to intention, amplify willpower, and even protect its wielder from overwhelming forces. The scientists had feared its power, calling it too dangerous to use without understanding. Mira looked over his shoulder. So it is alive and it responds to humans? Ryan nodded. It responds to life, to intent, to courage. That is why it chose me. But understanding it is only the first step. We need to practice to learn its limits, or Solara will find us and there will be no mercy. As the sun set over Zephyra, casting long shadows across the desert, Ryan and Mira prepared for the challenges ahead. They knew Solara's forces would not give up. But with the sword in Ryan's hands, they had a chance. A human chance built on courage, intelligence, and the refusal to be defeated. Ryan looked at the glowing blade. He could feel its energy flowing into him, filling him with warmth, focus, and determination. He realized that this was more than a weapon. It was a partner, a guide, and a symbol of human potential. We can do this, he said quietly. We will survive. We will learn. And we will be ready when she comes. Mira nodded. I hope you are right, Ryan. The Queen will not be patient. Ryan smiled faintly. Neither are we. With that, they settled into the research station, the sword glowing softly between them. Outside, the winds of Zephyra howled, carrying the faint hum of distant ships. Somewhere, Solara was watching, her anger growing with each passing hour. But Ryan was ready. He would master the sword, discover its secrets, and prove that humanity could face the impossible. Ryan sat on the edge of the research station, the twin suns of Zephyra low on the horizon. The sword lay across his lap, glowing softly, pulsing with energy as if aware of the approaching danger. Mira worked beside him, checking the station's old equipment for any useful data. The desert winds blew through broken windows, carrying sand that sparkled like tiny diamonds in the dying light. They had been in the station for 2 days, hiding from Solara's scouts. The sword had revealed new abilities, and Ryan was learning to sense energy currents to feel danger before it arrived. But the more he understood, the more he realized the weight of his actions. We cannot keep it forever, Mira said quietly, breaking the silence. Solara will not give up. Humans are not supposed to hold something like this. It could bring war to our colonies. Ryan nodded, looking down at the sword. I know, but returning it, that is dangerous too. We do not know what she will do. She may forgive, or she may see it as an insult. Either way, we cannot hide forever. The sword pulsed gently in his hands, almost as if agreeing. Ryan could feel a sense of urgency from it. It was alive, yes, but it also seemed to understand the risk. He ran his fingers along the blade, thinking about the stories of the Vernath. They were a proud and powerful race. Solara, the queen, was feared across the stars. One wrong step, and humans could lose everything. As night fell, Ryan and Mira prepared for another test of the sword. They had discovered that it could not only manipulate energy, but also detect threats from afar. Small lights flickered around the station as Ryan focused, sensing movements beyond the walls. They were being watched, and he knew it was only a matter of time before Solara sent someone stronger than the scouts. Ryan practiced creating energy barriers and launching controlled pulses of force. Each attempt left him exhausted, but he could feel his connection with the sword growing stronger. Mira watched, sometimes assisting by calculating angles and timing, her engineering skills helping him master the sword's potential. Suddenly, a sound echoed across the desert outside, a low hum, followed by the faint sound of a ship's engines. Ryan froze. The pulse of the sword accelerated, and he could sense a presence approaching. Mira looked at him with wide eyes. They're here, she whispered. Not scouts this time. Someone bigger, someone dangerous. Ryan stood, gripping the sword tightly. The glow from the blade illuminated the room, casting shadows on the walls. We need to be ready. Whoever comes will not leave without the sword. The door of the research station shook as a figure stepped inside. Ryan's heart raced. The being was tall, taller than any human, with sleek armor that reflected the sword's glow. Its eyes were a piercing blue, and energy coursed along its limbs like liquid light. I am Corin, the figure said, voice deep and commanding. Queen Solara has sent me to retrieve what is hers. Hand it over, human. Ryan held the sword firmly. I cannot, not yet. I need to understand it first, then I will return it. Corin's eyes narrowed. Foolish human. Time is not yours. Surrender the weapon or face the consequences. Ryan tightened his grip. He did not fear Corin, not entirely. He had survived scouts, he had survived the desert, and now he had the sword. Its energy flowed through him, giving him strength and courage. The first clash was sudden. Corin moved with speed, striking with an energy blade that Ryan barely deflected with the sword. Sparks flew, lighting the room in blue and silver flashes. Ryan leapt backward, sending a pulse of energy from the sword that knocked Corin off balance. The Virnath warrior regained stance quickly, circling, analyzing. Ryan realized that brute force would not win this fight. He had to think. He had to use the sword's abilities creatively. He extended the blade forward, creating a shield that expanded outward, bouncing Corin back against the wall. Energy pulses from the sword struck the floor and ceiling, destabilizing the structure just enough to slow Corin. Mira yelled, Ryan, use the control. Think before you strike. Ryan focused, extending his senses through the sword. He could feel Corin's movement, sensed the direction of his strikes before they came. Using precise pulses of energy, he manipulated Corin's balance, moving him like a piece on a board. It was dangerous, but it worked. After several tense minutes, Corin stepped back, analyzing the human. You are clever. I did not expect this. But cleverness alone will not save you. Ryan knew Corin was right. He could not defeat Solara's warrior forever. They needed a plan beyond fighting. He thought quickly, considering options, weighing risks. The research station had equipment, old but functional, that might help. He glanced at Mira, who understood immediately. Together, they moved toward the station's energy core, a small reactor that could generate bursts of energy. Distract him, Ryan whispered. Mira activated a panel, sending sparks and small explosions across the room. Corin's attention shifted momentarily, giving Ryan a chance to focus fully through the sword. He extended it, and a wave of energy surged outward, creating a temporary barrier between them and Corin. The Virnath warrior stumbled, but did not fall. He clenched his fists and struck the barrier, sending a pulse back at Ryan. The human barely maintained his footing, the sword glowing fiercely as it absorbed the force. Ryan realized the sword was learning too. Each time it reacted, it adapted slightly, responding to Corin's power and speed. Finally, Ryan made a decision. He could not fight forever. The sword had to be returned, or Solara would send more warriors, stronger and more ruthless. But he could choose the terms, not wait for them to dictate the outcome. I will return it, Ryan said, lowering the sword slightly. But you must listen. I want peace. I want to protect my people and yours. Corin paused, studying the human. Do you truly understand what you say? Returning it may not save you. Solara's wrath is not simple. I understand, Ryan said firmly. But if I fight her, humans may die and she may destroy entire colonies. I will return it, but I will do it my way. Corin's eyes flickered. He seemed to consider Ryan's words carefully. Finally, he stepped back. Follow me. You will meet Solara. Do not make her anger worse than it already is. Ryan nodded, gripping the sword one last time. Mira joined him, carrying their supplies. Together they left the station, stepping into the desert night. The twin moons reflected off the sand, casting pale light over their path. As they moved, Ryan thought about what lay ahead. Solara was powerful, far beyond anything he had faced. But the sword was with him, and it had chosen him for a reason. It was alive, intelligent, and now more connected than ever. If he could understand it fully, he could survive the encounter with the Queen herself. Hours passed as they traveled across Zephyrah, avoiding patrols and scouting drones. The desert was quiet, but the sense of danger never left Ryan. He could feel the sword's pulse growing faster, as if it anticipated the coming battle. Mira walked beside him, exhausted but resolute. She trusted him, and in that trust, Ryan found strength. Finally, they reached the edge of a canyon that overlooked a vast plateau. There, in the distance, they saw the outline of a massive ship, larger than any Ryan had ever seen. Energy glowed along its surface, casting blue light across the desert. The sword vibrated in his hands, and he realized this was the place Solara had chosen for their meeting. Ryan turned to Mira. This is it. We have to be careful. We cannot fight her, not yet. We need to understand, to negotiate, Mira nodded. I hope you are right. I do not want to see another battle like with Quran. Rian adjusted the sword, feeling its weight and energy. We will do this together. Humans have faced impossible odds before, and we will face them again. But this time we have an edge. We have courage, intelligence, and a weapon that chooses its wielder carefully. As they stepped forward toward Solara's ship, Ryan felt the pulse of the sword quicken. The desert wind carried a faint hum of energy, and the moons reflected off the metallic surface of the ship. Somewhere inside, Solara waited, her mind focused, her anger sharp. But Ryan was ready. He had made his choice. He would face the Queen not as a thief, but as a human determined to survive, to protect his people, and to show that humans could be more than they seemed. The dangerous decision had been made. And the next chapter of their journey, the encounter with Solara herself, was about to begin. The floating fortress of the Virnath loomed above the storm-covered planet, its metallic spires cutting through dark clouds like blades. Ryan and Mira hovered in their small shuttle, the sword secured carefully between them. The fortress radiated power, energy currents visible even from space. Ryan's pulse quickened. This was no ordinary stronghold. It was the heart of the Virnath Empire, and inside waited the Queen herself. Mira glanced at him, her voice tense. Are you sure about this? Once we land, there is no turning back. Ryan nodded, gripping the sword's hilt. I have to do this. We cannot run forever. The sword chose me for a reason. It is time we face her. The shuttle docked automatically as energy gates opened with a hum. Ryan and Mira stepped out onto the smooth metallic floor of the fortress. The interior was vast, filled with alien architecture that seemed alive, flowing and shifting like liquid metal. Energy pulsed along the walls, casting blue light that reflected off Ryan's armor and the blade of the sword. From the shadows, a figure emerged. Tall, regal, and imposing, her presence filled the chamber. Queen Solara's sapphire eyes glowed, and her armor shimmered with energy matching the sword. Ryan stepped forward, holding the blade firmly. You dare enter my fortress, human, Solara said, her voice calm but filled with power. Do you understand the consequences of touching my weapon? Ryan took a deep breath. I did not steal it. I did not mean disrespect. I wanted to understand it, to protect my people. I will return it, but I will not surrender without proving that humans can act with courage and honor. Solara studied him, her expression unreadable. Then she raised her hands and the chamber's energy shifted. The air crackled with power. Very well. Let us see if your courage is true. With a sudden movement, she struck. A wave of energy shot toward Ryan, forcing him back. He raised the sword instinctively, creating a shield that absorbed the strike. Sparks flew as energy collided, the force shaking the floor beneath them. Mira ducked behind a column, studying the patterns of the Queen's attacks. Ryan realized quickly that brute strength alone would not win this fight. Solara's power was immense, faster and stronger than anything he had faced. He had to rely on intelligence, timing, and the sword's guidance. He extended the sword forward, sending a controlled pulse of energy toward Solara. She deflected it effortlessly, but Ryan noticed a brief hesitation. The sword responded immediately, amplifying his intention. Using that moment, he created a shield that moved around him in a protective arc, deflecting her next wave of energy. Solara's eyes narrowed. Clever human. You adapt quickly, but cleverness alone will not save you. Ryan focused, feeling the sword's pulse synchronize with his heartbeat. He could sense energy currents in the room, subtle flows that revealed weaknesses in Solara's movements. With careful timing, he struck, sending precise waves of energy that pushed her back slightly. It was enough to create distance to gain a moment of reprieve. Mira called out from her hiding spot. Ryan, the chamber's energy is linked to the floor panels. Use it! Ryan's mind raced. He redirected the sword's energy toward the floor, causing panels to rise and fall in patterns that disrupted Solara's stance. She leapt back, surprised at the human's ingenuity. Ryan advanced, moving with the sword as if it were an extension of his body, each pulse of energy calculated, deliberate, and precise. The battle continued, energy flashing through the chamber like lightning. Solara unleashed waves of power, but Ryan used shields, pulses, and quick movements to survive. He realized something crucial. The sword responded to courage, to focus, and to intelligence. It was not just a weapon. It was a partner reacting to his will and intent. As the fight wore on, Solara's attacks became more calculated. She struck from unexpected angles, forcing Rian to anticipate each move. The chamber shook under the force of their confrontation, and small pieces of debris floated in the energy currents. Rian felt the sword guiding him, warning him of danger, enhancing his reflexes. Finally, Rian saw an opening. He extended the sword, sending a controlled pulse of energy directly toward Solara's midsection. She blocked it, but the force created a shockwave that pushed her backward. He followed immediately, advancing with careful strikes that tested her defenses without harming her gravely. Solara's voice rang out. "Impressive, human. You have courage, intelligence, and the will to survive. Few possess all three." Rian nodded, catching his breath. "I fight not to defeat you, but to show that humans can face impossible odds and still act with honor." The queen studied him silently, her eyes glowing brighter. Then she moved, surrounding Rian in a circle of energy, a trap designed to test his limits. He could feel the energy pressing against him, but the sword pulsed, steady and strong. Rian focused, amplifying his will through the blade. The energy shifted, responding to his intent, and the trap weakened. Solara's expression changed, showing the first sign of respect. "You are not like other humans," she said. "You are different. You are capable." Rian lowered the sword slightly. "Then you see that we are not weak. We can survive, learn, and even fight alongside others if given the chance." Solara considered his words carefully. The energy in the room stabilized, and she stepped back, giving him space. "You have proven your courage, but the sword must return to me. Its power is not meant to be wielded without understanding, and its misuse can bring devastation." Rian extended the sword forward. "I am ready to return it, but I hope you see that humans are not enemies by nature. We are capable of honor, courage, and understanding. Let this be a beginning, not an end." Solara's eyes softened slightly. She reached out, and the sword floated from Rian's hands into her grasp. The glow dimmed, but Rian felt a connection remain. He realized then that the sword had chosen him not to fight alone, but to demonstrate humanity's potential. Mira stepped forward, careful to remain respectful. "Queen Solara, humans do not seek conflict. We only wish to survive and learn." Solara nodded, her expression calm and regal. "Then perhaps this is the start of understanding between our worlds. But know this, the Virnath are proud and cautious. Any betrayal will not be forgiven." Rian bowed slightly. "I understand, and I will honor this opportunity." For the first time, the chamber was silent, the only sound the faint hum of the fortress's energy. Rian felt relief, but also a growing awareness of responsibility. The encounter had proven that humans could face powerful forces and survive, but it had also shown the importance of wisdom, strategy, and courage. Solara's presence remained imposing, but there was a new sense of mutual respect. The sword had returned, but Rian's actions had earned recognition. He understood that this was not the end. Humans had entered a larger world, a universe of powerful races, advanced technology, and potential allies. Their actions would ripple across the stars, and they had shown that courage and intelligence could create opportunities even in the face of overwhelming power. As they left the chamber, Solara's words echoed in Rian's mind. "Humans are different. Perhaps they have a place among the stars. Perhaps they are not merely survivors, but something greater." Rian looked at Mira, who smiled faintly. "We did it. We survived. And we learned something important." "Yes," Rian replied. "Humans can face the impossible and grow stronger. The sword has chosen well, and perhaps it has shown Solara that we are not weak." Outside the fortress, the storm above the planet had begun to calm. Energy currents still pulsed along the spires, but the overwhelming tension had lessened. Rian and Mira boarded their shuttle, carrying with them knowledge, experience, and a new understanding of their place in the universe. Rian held the sword briefly, now in Solara's possession, and felt the connection remain. It was a reminder that courage, intelligence, and honor could bridge worlds, that humans, though small in comparison, had the potential to influence events and earn respect from even the most powerful civilizations. As they left the floating fortress, heading back to Zephyra, Rian realized that this encounter was not the end of the journey. It was a turning point. The universe was vast, full of dangers and opportunities. Humans were no longer mere survivors. They were participants in a larger story, capable of heroism, ingenuity, and diplomacy. And somewhere in the depths of space, Queen Solara would remember the human who faced her, who returned her sword, and who proved that courage and wisdom were as powerful as any weapon. The clash of worlds had ended, but the future was just beginning. Ryan and Mira returned to Zephyra as the twin suns rose, painting the desert in shades of orange and gold. The shuttle hummed softly as it touched down near the colony, and for the first time in days, Ryan allowed himself to breathe freely. The sword had been returned to Queen Solara, but the connection between him and the blade lingered, a quiet reminder of the courage and determination that had guided him. Mira helped him from the shuttle, her eyes bright with relief. "We made it back," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "I cannot believe we survived the fortress, the queen herself, and the sword. It was incredible." Ryan nodded, feeling a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "It was dangerous, yes, but it taught us something important. Humans are capable of facing challenges far greater than themselves. Courage, intelligence, and respect can open doors even with the most powerful beings." The colony had not been idle during their absence. Citizens gathered in small groups, curious about the glowing energy that had pulsed across the desert. Rumors had spread that a human had faced the Vernath and survived. Children whispered in awe, miners paused in their work to watch the horizon, and even the colony leaders came to see Ryan and Mira. Rian looked at the crowd and felt a sense of pride. He understood then that the story of the sword, the fortress, and Queen Solara would become more than a legend. It would inspire humans to rise above fear and doubt. Humans were small in the universe, but they had proven that determination and courage could make them remarkable. Mira touched his arm gently. "Ryan, what happens now? Solara has the sword and the Vernath are powerful. Are we safe?" Ryan smiled. "For now, yes. But more importantly, we have respect. Solara saw that humans can act with honor, and that matters. It is the beginning of understanding between our worlds." Days passed, and Rian and Mira shared their story with the colony. Every detail, from discovering the sword to confronting Koran and finally meeting Solara, was told with careful attention. Children listened wide-eyed, adults nodded thoughtfully, and everyone realized that humans were capable of more than mere survival. The colony's leaders approached Ryan one afternoon. "You have done more than protect yourselves," one of them said. "You have shown that humans can face forces beyond comprehension and live. We want to help you share this knowledge so that humans across Zephyra and beyond can learn from it." Rian considered their words. "Yes, but knowledge must be paired with courage. Humans must understand that power is not everything. Intelligence, honor, and strategy are just as important," Mira added. "And we must teach respect for other civilizations. The Vernath could have destroyed us, yet they chose to recognize our courage. That is a lesson we cannot forget." Weeks passed, and Rian continued to study the sword's energy from a distance. Though Solara now wielded it, the connection between them remained. He could feel its pulse in his dreams, reminding him of what was possible when humans dared to act with courage. Then, one evening, a message arrived via the colony's long-range communicator. The holographic image of Queen Solara appeared, her sapphire eyes calm and piercing. "Rian," she said, her voice resonating with authority and respect, "you have proven yourself to be worthy of the sword's power. Your actions have shown that humanity possesses qualities beyond what many in the universe expect. Courage, wisdom, and honor are traits that can build alliances and understanding." Rian bowed slightly, feeling a mix of pride and humility. "Thank you, Queen Solara. I only sought to protect my people and ensure that humans act responsibly. I am honored that you recognize our potential." Solara's image softened. "The sword is powerful, yes, but it also tests the wielder. It has chosen well in you. I wish to offer an alliance. Humans and the Vernath can share knowledge, technology, and wisdom. Together we may face challenges that neither of us could overcome alone." Ryan's heart raced. An alliance with the Vernath was more than he had ever imagined. It was a recognition that humans could participate in a larger universe, that courage and intelligence could earn respect from even the most powerful civilizations. "We accept," Ryan said firmly. "We will work together, learn together, and protect each other. Humanity is ready to step forward into the stars, and we will do so with honor." Solara nodded, her image fading slowly. "Very well, human. Let this be the beginning of a new era." The news spread quickly. Across Zephyra, humans celebrated the recognition from the Vernath. It was not just a victory for Ryan and Mira. It was a victory for all of humanity. They had proven that humans could face the impossible and earn respect through courage and intelligence. Rian continued to explore the sword's energy, practicing with Mira and sharing discoveries with the colony's engineers. The weapon was a bridge between worlds, a symbol of potential, and a reminder that humans were not limited by size, strength, or fear. Their greatest tools were their minds, their hearts, and their willingness to act with honor. One day, as Ryan stood on a cliff overlooking the desert, Mira joined him. "Do you ever think about what comes next? The Vernath are powerful, but there are other civilizations out there. Humans may face more challenges," Rian nodded. "Yes, I think about it. But we have learned something crucial. Humans are capable of growth, courage, and understanding. No matter what comes next, we are not powerless. We can rise, adapt, and succeed," Mira smiled, "and we will face it together, like always." Ryan glanced at the horizon where the sun dipped behind the red cliffs, casting a golden glow across Zephyra. "Together," he agreed. "Humans have a place in the universe, and we will prove it every day. The sword has shown us the way, but it is our courage and choices that will shape the future." As the stars began to shine above, Ryan felt a quiet determination settle in his chest. The journey had been dangerous, full of uncertainty, and filled with lessons. He had faced the impossible, learned from it, and survived. Humans were no longer mere observers of the universe. They were participants capable of heroism, ingenuity, and diplomacy. The sword, now back in Solara's hands, remained a symbol of what humans could achieve. It had tested him, guided him, and strengthened him. And though he would not wield it again, the lessons he learned from it would remain forever. Ryan and Mira returned to the colony, where life had resumed, but with a new sense of purpose. Humans were stronger now, not because of weapons or machines, but because they had demonstrated courage, intelligence, and honor. The story of the sword and the encounter with Queen Solara would inspire generations to come. Ryan stood before the colony one evening, watching the sunset. Children played in the dust, miners worked with renewed energy, and engineers tinkered with new devices. The future was bright, full of possibilities, and humans were ready to face it. Mira joined him, handing him a cup of water. "You did it, Ryan. You proved that humans are capable of greatness." Ryan smiled, looking at the horizon. "We did it, together. Humans are more than survivors. We are creators, explorers, and fighters when we must be. The universe is vast, and now we have a place in it." As night fell, the twin moons of Zephyra rose, casting silver light across the desert. The stars shimmered above, each one a reminder of the vastness of space and the potential that humans carried within them. Somewhere far away, Queen Solara observed from her fortress, acknowledging the human who had returned her sword with courage and wisdom. She understood that humans were different, that they could act with honor and determination, and that they were capable of growth and respect. The story of Ryan, Mira, and the sword became legend. Humans had faced impossible odds, demonstrated courage and intelligence, and earned the respect of one of the universe's most powerful civilizations. It was the beginning of a new era, one where humans were no longer small, weak, or overlooked. They were participants in a larger story, capable of facing challenges, forging alliances, and shaping their destiny among the stars. And for Ryan, Mira, and all of humanity, the future was bright, filled with endless possibilities, challenges, and adventures. The sword's glow may have faded from his hands, but the courage it inspired burned brighter than ever. Humans had shown the universe that they were worthy, and they would continue to rise, stronger and braver with each challenge. Rian looked at Mira, the stars reflecting in their eyes, and said quietly, "This is only the beginning." Mira smiled. "Yes, and we are ready for whatever comes next." Together, they faced the night, confident that humans could achieve greatness, not through power alone, but through courage, intelligence, and honor. The story of the sword had ended, but the story of humanity was just beginning.